The morning sun cuts a sharp golden angle across your back patio, lighting up the quiet sanctuary of your backyard feeder. A flurry of wing-soft, flashing feathers of goldfinches and titmice dances around the hanging tray, scattering seed hulls onto the damp grass. It's a peaceful, picture-perfect slice of domestic serenity. And then, annoyed by the mess or the sudden chatter, you step toward the sliding glass door, tap the glass, or clap your hands to shoo them away. In a fraction of a second, the branches explode into motion. The flock vanishes into the tree line, leaving behind a sudden, hollow silence. You feel a brief flash of satisfaction. Your yard is tidy again. Your space is your own. What you don't realize is that the moment those wings scattered, you just dismantled an invisible, highly sophisticated security system operating right outside your kitchen window. You didn't just clear away a few backyard birds, you inadvertently tore down a biological shield that was actively protecting your property, your yard, and your peace of mind. Wait, what were those birds actually doing out there that you just interrupted? For most of us, a backyard bird feeder is nothing more than a casual hobby. We toss out sunflower seeds or suet blocks, hoping to catch a glimpse of bright red cardinals or cheerful chickadees over our morning coffee. We view these frequent visitors as harmless, charming guests dropping by for a free meal, entirely dependent on our charity. Most people look out at their feeder, see a squabbling cluster of sparrows, and think it's just a chaotic playground of mindless appetites. They couldn't be more wrong. What's actually happening around that wooden tray or hanging cylinder is a complex, highly coordinated surveillance operation. Ornithologists and behavioral ecologists who study avian communication networks have uncovered a startling reality. Backyard feeding stations aren't just restaurants. They are mutual survival hubs, cross-species intelligence centers where wild birds gather not only to eat, but to monitor, map, and broadcast the hidden threats lurking in your neighborhood. Most people don't realize that birds possess an intricate, multi-tiered acoustic vocabulary that functions like a military radar network. Every chip, trill, and sharp alarm note carries precise coordinates regarding the identity, size, and trajectory of local predators. When you chase them away because they're making too much noise or spilling seed, you aren't just clearing your yard of feathers. You're actively blinding yourself to the dangers moving through your immediate environment. Why would a simple backyard feeder double as an advanced warning grid? And more importantly, what happens to your home when you switch that grid off? Consider your home for a moment. It's your fortress, your safe haven, the one place where you expect absolute security for yourself and your family. You lock your doors, install security cameras, and monitor perimeter lights to keep the outside world at bay. Yet, you remain entirely blind to the invisible ecological theater playing out just inches from your window pane. This video isn't about gardening tips or birdwatching trivia. It's a deep, unvarnished exploration into a hidden ecological security network that most humans spend their entire lives completely unaware of. We are going to look behind the curtain of modern domestic life to examine why chasing birds away from your feeder carries a heavy, silent cost. If you've ever felt a casual annoyance toward the creatures in your yard, everything you're about to hear will permanently change how you view that hanging feeder. It proves that nature isn't something separate from our homes, trying to intrude. It's actively guarding our doorsteps, if only we have the wisdom to let them stay. Before we step across the threshold into this hidden world, take a brief moment to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. In a digital landscape overflowing with superficial noise, we dive deep into the silent, overlooked truths of human interaction with nature, truths that change the way you see your own backyard. Stay with us through the end of this journey because the final revelation changes everything. The morning air at 6:45 a.m. carries the crisp, damp scent of dew-soaked grass and warming soil. In your backyard, the wooden bird feeder is the undisputed social hub of the neighborhood canopy. A mixed flock of titmice, nuthatches, and housefinches swirl around the station, their movements a blur of rapid-fire motion and high-pitched chatter. To the casual observer looking through the kitchen window, this scene is pure, idle entertainment, a pleasant domestic backdrop to the morning routine. Step closer to the reality of avian ecology, however, and the dynamic flips completely. Those birds aren't just feeding, they're working. At any given moment around a backyard feeder, a strict hierarchy of vigilance is maintained. While certain species feed with their heads down, Others remain perched on high lateral branches or nearby fences, acting as designated sentinels. Their eyes lateralized and capable of processing visual stimuli at speeds far exceeding human perception, are scanning the dense brush, the fence lines, and the upper airspace for danger. When you step out onto the patio, clap your hands, or bang on the window to shoo them away because you want a quiet yard or a clean deck, you break this surveillance chain. You assume you're simply reclaiming your space from unwanted wildlife. In biological terms, though, you've just punched a massive hole in your yard's perimeter security. You've chased away the eyes and ears that were tracking every movement within a 100-yard radius. You've traded an active, free-operating biological early warning system for a silent, sterile, and entirely blind backyard. To understand the true magnitude of what happens when you chase birds away, we have to look at the linguistic sophistication hidden inside their morning chatter. For decades, humans dismissed bird sounds as pleasant, random melodies or simple territorial squeaks. Modern bioacoustics has completely shattered that naive assumption. Researchers utilizing high-speed directional microphones and digital frequency analyzers have discovered that backyard birds speak a highly complex universal forest language. When a tufted titmouse or a black-capped chickadee gives its iconic chickadee-dee-dee call, the number of appended DD notes isn't random. It's a precise mathematical encoding of predator size, threat level, and urgency. A Cooper's hawk darting low through the trees triggers a radically different acoustic signature than a crouching neighborhood cat slinking along the base of your garden fence. More remarkably, this alarm system is entirely cross-species. When a sentinel titmouse broadcasts a high-risk predator warning, chipmunks, squirrels, cardinals, and robins instantly freeze or scatter into cover. They don't have to see the threat themselves. They trust the broadcast network. Now, imagine your reaction as a human homeowner. Annoyed by the morning volume, you tap on the glass or run outside waving a broom. The birds scatter in a panic, their communication network instantly severed. The local squirrels lose their primary threat detector. The hidden hawk, perched quietly in the dense canopy of your neighbor's oak tree, can now approach with zero acoustic interference. By chasing the birds away from your feeder, you've effectively silenced the village lookouts. You've turned your backyard from an information-rich security zone into a silent, vulnerable vacuum where predators operate undetected. The protection offered by a bustling backyard feeder extends far beyond simple alarm calls. It establishes a hard, active territorial boundary that repels a wide array of agricultural and domestic pests. Think of your yard as a microscopic ecosystem map. Every square foot of soil, every leaf on your tomato plants, and every inch of bark on your fence posts is home to thousands of insects, larvae, and opportunistic invaders. Left completely unchecked by natural predators, populations of aphids, beetles, spider mites, and grubs explode with astonishing speed, choking out plant life and turning a thriving garden into a blighted wasteland. When you maintain an active bird feeder, you aren't just feeding birds, you're anchoring an apex insect control workforce directly to your property. A single pair of chickadees feeding young during peak season will consume thousands of caterpillars, beetles, and agricultural pests every single week. More importantly, their presence acts as a psychological deterrent. Opportunistic foragers like rodents, voles, and invasive pests recognize the high density of avian activity around a reliable food source as a high-risk zone. They avoid the immediate perimeter because the area is saturated with watchful eyes and razor-sharp beaks. When you aggressively chase birds away because you're tired of cleaning dropped seed holes from your patio pavers, you break this delicate ecological anchor. The birds learn quickly that your immediate patio space is a zone of human hostility. They retreat to the deeper woods or your neighbor's yard. Within 48 hours, the invisible boundary dissolves. The pests move in, the soil ecosystem shifts, and the natural equilibrium of your yard collapses into artificial, fragile chaos requiring constant chemical intervention. To witness the chilling consequence of chasing backyard birds away, you only need to look at controlled urban ecology experiments conducted across suburban developments in North America and Western Europe. In a landmark field study conducted across 300 residential properties over a 2-year period, researchers observed the distinct ecological shifts that occurred when homeowners deliberately removed or abandoned their backyard bird feeders. The results were swift and startling. Within the first week of complete avian absence, the immediate microenvironment changed. Without the constant, low-level flutter of activity and varied vocalizations, the yard entered an unnatural hollow stillness. But the true danger was happening beneath the surface and along the perimeter. Without sentinel species maintaining their daylight watch, local pest populations surged unchecked. Japanese beetles stripped garden foliage bare within days. Field mice, sensing the absence of avian territorial defense, tunneled closer to foundation walls, chewing through exterior insulation and finding safe harbor in dark, undisturbed corners. Meanwhile, neighborhood feral cats and avian predators like sharp-shinned hawks realized the yard had transformed into an easy hunting ground, a place where prey items lingered on dropped seeds without an organized network to warn them. The homeowners who initiated this silence to regain a pristine bird-free patio soon found themselves locked in a frustrating battle with chemical insecticides, rat traps, and damaged property. They had traded a living, breathing security shield for short-term aesthetic neatness, unaware that nature always demands balance. When you break the cooperative agreement between your home and the local bird population, you don't achieve peace, you invite chaos into the vacuum. This brings us to a profound truth about human psychology and our relationship with the domestic landscape. Our obsession with absolute control often breeds our greatest vulnerabilities. Human beings possess an innate evolutionary desire to tidy, sanitize, and curate our immediate environment. We want green grass without weeds, clean patios without seed shells, and absolute quiet when we step outside for our morning coffee. Anything that disrupts this manicured illusion, a messy pile of sunflower husks, a noisy squabble between jays, or bird droppings on a patio chair triggers an immediate, reflexive impulse to interfere, to shoo, to clean, to banish. Yet every time we act on that impulse, we sever a thread in the complex web of local ecology that sustains us. Consider what happens when you substitute nature's security network with artificial barriers. You rely on bug sprays that kill beneficial pollinators alongside pests. You rely on rodenticides that poison local raptors and neighborhood cats. You spend your weekends fighting a relentless, exhausting war against an environment you actively pushed away. The birds at your feet were never freeloaders. They were partners. They were trading their vigilance, their pest control, and their rich acoustic ecosystem in exchange for a reliable, safe caloric supplement during hard times. When you chase them away, you're essentially firing the most loyal, vigilant security team your property will ever know, all because you couldn't tolerate a few dropped seeds on the concrete. As we map this intricate web from the rooftop sentinels scanning the tree line, through the complex mathematics of the alarm call network, down into the soil pest control balance and the psychological trap of domestic control, a much larger, more urgent picture begins to emerge. We're forced to confront a sobering reality about our modern lifestyle. By walling ourselves off from the natural world, by demanding absolute silence, sterility, and obedience from our backyards, we've engineered our own ecological isolation. Think about how we treat the space immediately surrounding our homes. We pave over the earth, erect tall cedar fences, spray synthetic weed killers that silence every cricket and beetle, and then wonder why our yards feel dead, sterile, and entirely detached from the living earth. We treat wildlife as an intrusion, a nuisance to be managed with traps and brooms, completely blind to the fact that every time we drive away the native fauna, we strip our homes of their ancient natural defense systems. The evidence gathered by behavioral ecologists and urban wildlife experts is undeniable. Nature isn't trying to conquer your yard. It's trying to protect it. And when we aggressively reject that partnership in the name of a spotless patio, we invite a cascade of unseen consequences that our chemical sprays and plastic traps can never truly fix. And that brings us to the ultimate staggering realization. When you walk out onto your back deck tomorrow morning, see a bustling flurry of wings around your feeder, and feel that familiar conditioned urge to clap your hands, wave your arms, and chase them away for the sake of a tidy yard stop. Realize what you're actually looking at. You aren't looking at pests stealing your seed. You're looking at an ancient, highly sophisticated mutual survival pact standing guard over your home. Those birds are your eyes in the sky, your early warning radar against unseen predators, your natural pest control brigade, and your living connection to the wild, resilient pulse of the earth. The moment you let them stay, the moment you embrace the scattered seed holes and the morning chatter as the price of admission to a healthy ecosystem, your entire backyard transforms. It stops being a sterile plot of grass requiring endless human maintenance and becomes a thriving, self-defending sanctuary. That's the secret the wild has been trying to tell us from the very edge of our porch steps, if only we're willing to put down the broom and listen. So the next time you stand at your sliding glass door on a crisp morning watching the goldfinches and titmice dance across your feeder, leave the glass alone. Don't tap, don't clap, don't chase them into the trees. Step back, take a breath, and let them work. Understand that you're sharing your space with an ancient, watchful guardian network that asks for nothing more than a handful of seeds in exchange for keeping your world safe, vibrant, and alive. The world outside may be rushing headlong into a noisy, sterile future, but in that fleeting, beautiful moment on your back patio, you can choose to stand with nature rather than against it. What about you? Have you ever noticed how quiet your yard gets when the birds disappear, or what happens when you let them stay? Drop your thoughts, experiences, or observations in the comments below. Let's talk about the hidden world right outside our kitchen windows.